Welcome everyone. And for those online, Ashley, good morning. For this meeting, I'll read the affirmation. For this meeting, we seek knowledge for understanding, have purpose in all that we do, stand tall, be strong, let's show respect for each other. Apologies, do we have any apologies? Apology for Councillor Birchall. There's an apology for Iwi. No apologies? Okay. Declarations of interest? Any declarations of interest?
Manoi for me.
Manoi for you, Annie?
Yeah.
Public forums, deputations? There are none. Are there any late items? No late items? Okay. Confirmation in the minutes. Confirm the minutes of the operations committee meeting held on the 16th of December 2025 are true and a correct record. Is there anything come out of those minutes about the discussion? Can I have a mover for the minutes? Colin, seconder? Chris, all in favour?
Aye.
Yep. Actions list. One on the actions list is the Whanganui rating scheme, capital upgrade, the purpose presented councillors and the RD at the upcoming annual meeting. That's completed. Action 2, provide a register for orphan assets to all councillors. It's sort of not complete, I suppose, is it? It's not complete, but it's what I'd put down there as ongoing, because we need to work through those orphan assets on a priority basis, I feel.
It takes several years. I think it's an action that you've actioned, and we're going to carry it out over a prolonged period of time, because there's so many on the list. It's something that I can involve next year. It takes several years to resolve that.
Probably only 10, 15 that we need to know about, probably in the next 3 months or 4 months.
Mr. Chairman, I wonder if I could, and look, I've just had the benefit of having a conversation before the meeting started with the chair. Perhaps what we could, and I'll make this suggestion, that as a matter of priority, that we should list any orphan assets that we know that are an integral part of our existing flood schemes, and work through those as a matter of priority. And I don't think there's very many of those. So what I'm meaning here is that, look, we're not going to, put a lot of effort at the moment into an orphan asset right up the top of the grey or anything like that. But if it's an ancillary or an integral part of our existing flood schemes, but it's an orphan asset that isn't on our asset register, then perhaps we need to actually do the work on that, because of the intersection with our scheme. What do you feel about that, Michael?
So I think that Chris was saying he knew of several that are really important. I think because we've got them in paper files, we're not actually sure where all those 500 are. That is the exercise, even to discover them. But if you say you know of a half a dozen already, then I think we would benefit from all the councillors if they said these are in our district and they're important. We will take them as the priority then to look forward, further forward on that, rather than us to go through the 500. So I think that would be a better starting place.
So the advantage of that is that we've got probably, and there might be standalone orphan assets when you first look at them, but they could actually be included in an asset that we're already working on without realising that they are part and parcel of an asset that they, because we don't know that, we consider them orphans, but they should really be included in, say, an existing asset.
So taken out of that, on this action list, I feel it's probably, I won't put a number on it, but the orphan assets we need to look at with preference would be ones related to flood protection schemes, ongoing, upcoming, and also ones we already own,
Right.
and on a priority basis.
I can take that action on. But if councillors actually knew they had some, it would be better if they could come forward.
Okay.
So if Chris, you said you didn't know where they were, that would certainly help us because we've got to define where they are and then we've got to process that. Daryl's defined how we include them into the assets database.
Thank you. Going to action 3, staff to review provisions in the TTPP regarding subdivisions and engage Gray with the district council. Are you going to talk to that?
Yes, we've got a meeting tomorrow to go through with Gray. We've already gone through. We're just defining with the TTP how that responds. So if that responds at a 1% AEP, they can't discharge more than that. They're wanting, the council themselves have come back and said they want a higher standard than that. So I said, chief engineer and the operation manager from Gray, they'd work out exactly what we're going to do there. So we've got the meeting booked in tomorrow.
Thank you. Action 4, prepare a paper on the consent requirements for waiting district stock banks, i.e. current consents in place, grandfather rights, etc. That's got Matt's name on it. Is
Matt gave a last meeting, he gave an update to that verbally.
Yep.
We took that as we covered off the requirements.
Yep. So with that action that we looked at, with an amendment to that, sorry?
The AI talking to you.
Not me.
Looks like AI.
That's not me. Anyway, with the action on the orphan assets, we need to move that, don't we? Well, this is a bit confusing.
Does anybody have any idea what that is?
But see, it's telling you that's the AI talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how does that come on?
You have to go. Let's go get cleared to go and help us. Can you switch the companion, AI companions on?
I just turned that on, but it wasn't on before.
Okay.
Sorry, control us again.
Yeah, I'd call the meeting to close. We're good to go. Welcome back again. We're still on the actions list. There was one action I took out of that had to have an amendment, and that's the more serious orphan assets on action point 2, which we've got. Is there any other discussion on action? Councillor Ewan?
Just for, going forward, the action on number 4 was to prepare a paper. And we were provided with a verbal report. Well, the verbal report, my memory won't remember what was said in the verbal report at lunchtime. I think we need to have a paper so we've got a record of what the consent requirements are.
So, on that action point, we need to have a paper on that. Yep.
Paper on.
Yep. With those amendments to the action list. Oh, sorry.
Did the meeting happen on 26th of February on action number 3? The meeting.
It did, and we would, sorry.
Yes.
Yes, it happened, and we're carrying on that conversation. We had to go through exactly what the TTPP was laying out. So the chief engineer went back, referenced it. We had another conversation with Gray District Council, and then we've got another one tomorrow to further those conversations. So it's an ongoing piece of work.
Any other discussion on the action list? With those amendments, can I have a move on the action list, please? Colin? Another seconder, Peter Ewan, all in favour? Aye.
Aye.
Chair. Thanks, Ashley. Chair's report. I don't really have a chair's report. Just with, in particular, the Westport flood scheme, that it seems to me like the tail's wagging the dog a wee bit. And it's the contracting time of the season, the year. And progress has been slow. I know there's been hold-ups, but I just don't want this to be a continuation of this project, the continuation of this project and other projects we're in charge of, because it sort of comes back to bite us. And as constituents of our different regions, we're answerable to the public why things aren't happening. So more of a grizzle, but just we need to learn from our mistakes and get these projects underway, get them completed so we can make our ratepayers safe from floods and other risks. Thank you. Can I have a mover for the Chair's report? Andy? Chris? All in favour?
Aye.
Reports. Update on West Coast Emergency Management Joint Committee. It's a recommended that the committee to resolve the report, and we'll have Claire. Oh, Joe, is it? Claire. Yep. Thank you.
Kia ora koutou, everybody. So I'll just take you through some of the highlights of this report, and just a reminder that this is a quarterly update to you that we provide you after we have the West Coast Emergency Management Joint Committee meeting. So it's a quarterly update to you. So this report's fairly brief. I'll just go through a few highlights. Just to note that we have had the new West Coast Emergency Management Group Plan has been out for public consultation. We were pleased to receive 7 submissions from the public on the new group plan, which we deliberated at the last joint committee meeting. So a final is now being prepared, which will also be sent to the Minister's Office for review. At the joint committee meeting, we also tabled a draft evacuation plan for Franz Joseph that was supported and endorsed by the committee. We did note at that time, however, that there's 2 additional pieces of activities that need to continue to progress around evacuation planning for Franz Joseph. One of those is a workshop with the Western District Council team, given that it will be their emergency operations centre that will be implementing the evacuation plan. So it's really important that they have a very good understanding and are able to contribute to that plan. The other aspect is around doing some more flood modelling, particularly as a result of the potential of a landslide break. So those are a couple of additional pieces of modelling requirements that we will progress through the Regional Council. Also just to update you that Jamie Klein joined the team back in December last year with a recovery and welfare role. We have just recently, in the last couple of days, about 3 applications to the NEMA Resilience Fund. Those 3 applications involve a emergency resource cache in the event that we need to establish an alternate emergency coordination centre. The second of the 3 applications was around updating our West Coast fuel plan. The last plan was in 2022, so it's time that we have a fresh at that plan and have updated. And the third application that we put through was around the business resilience activities that we've been fortunate enough to progress for Westport as a result of the Resilient Westport program. But we would really see the value in being able to extend that across the remainder of the region as well. So those are the 3 applications that are currently on the table. The last couple of updates around this is, we are also currently looking for an interim premises for West Coast Emergency Management Group office. Currently we are leasing the activity room down at the Westland Recreation Centre in Greymouth. We need to be out of there at the end of July. So we're currently looking for an interim place to work out of, and also have our emergency coordination centre as well in the event that we need to activate that. We have been given the go-ahead of the business case to co-locate with FENS and the new renovated facility in Greymouth, but obviously that will take a number of months to complete. So we are thinking of what interim arrangement we'll have in the meantime. The last 2 points of the plan, just to let you know that we have been working with the 16 groups across the country on our combined submission for the Emergency Management Bill number 2. So we submitted that on the 15th of February, and we had the opportunity to talk to the select committee about that on Friday 15th. I've attached the report. It's a 40-page submission that we made as an attachment to this report. And finally, we are in the throes to arrange the South Island Emergency Management South Island Conference. So we're hosting that this year on the West Coast, and that's looking to be the 30th of September and the 1st of October, so towards the end of this year. So planning and preparations are kicking off for that. Those are the main highlights of this report. Happy to take any questions. Thank you, Chair.
Just on page
Councillor
21. I don't like to sound picky, but it's left the WCM group actively engages with Tango in this work. Reviews have not been sought for this paper. That's what it looks like. You actively engaged with them, but you didn't for this paper. I find that sort of odd.
Yep.
Through the chair, so we have the chairs for both Runanga or Makawhio and Ngāti Waewae representative on the joint committee. So this report is intended to be just an update of the activity and a discussion that we had at joint committee. But happy to take advice if you would like this update to also be
Just that Tango really, if New Zealand experience has any indication, they play a very, very important role in sometimes in some of these emergencies, particularly up in the Gisborne area where people often end up flocking to the Marais, and so just hope we're as engaged with them as they are.
Through the chair, we have had representation from mana whenua on our West Coast Emergency Management Joint Committee for many years. That doesn't happen in other parts of the country. I believe we have a strong involvement with tangata whenua and also ngā tauwhaka who are on the coast. And we've had good participation from both of the Runanga on the joint committee, and they're also involved in our coordinating executive group as well. I think myself and the team are very, very strongly aware of the contribution that they make, and without having them at the table and a part of the operational discussion, that would be a concern. So I'm hoping that we do. We acknowledge that there's a lot more that we can do in that space. I'm confident that we have good representation at both joint committee and the coordinating executive group.
Happy with that answer.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Very comprehensive report.
One more little way, thank you, through the chair.
Yep.
On page 57, I find it fascinating that we're almost getting back to the good old days of wardens and engaging the community in voluntary sort of participation. I find that very encouraging, and And I hope we pursue that direction.
Through the chair, that is an element of the submission that we put in regarding the new emergency management bill. With regards to this, we believe the bill still does not sufficiently address the need for a system level change to put communities at the centre of emergency management. It does go some way to recognise it's an end-to-end, all of community approach. And the other aspect I'd like to comment on that is that improved community engagement and involvement is additional work, and that it needs to be properly resourced and planned for. So although we will benefit immensely from that improvement, that does we need to factor that into our work plan.
Thank you. Councillor Birchwood?
Just a question, the generator, I see you're costing it a generator 80 to, on page 19, 80 to 150,000. I just wonder what size that is.
It's 83 kVA. Yes.
Yeah, I'm pricing it at the moment, so yeah, I think yeah, you're probably near the 80K mark for that.
Thank you. We've already received some quotes for that, and the 80K I thought was quite conservative. The additional amount of that is also for other resources on top of, so it includes other things like emergency cash, which would have furniture, it would have lighting, some food and water supplies, and also an IT cash as well, including cell phones and laptops. So the generator is a big part of that, and our current quotes estimate that to be in the range of around 80,000.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on the report? Therefore, can I have a mover?
Diarrhea.
Happy to move it.
Full stomach, diarrhea. You haven't been vomiting?
Pardon? You're going to move it, Ashley?
Yeah, happy to move it.
Can I have a seconder? Colin? All in favour?
Aye.
Can I just ask one question? I think there's a problem with Ashley's computer.
There is a little bit of feedback.
It's feedback or
Coming
another,
through.
not even, it's another voice.
Yeah. Whether it's
Sorry, that's probably my 4.5-year-old child who's sitting across the table from me.
Oh,
Good one, Stan.
fair enough there. Very good, thank you. 9.2, monthly catchment report, management status report. Michael, you're going to come and speak to this report? Thanks, Claire.
All right, so this is changing the report very quickly. So this is taken from November 15th. So it's a 3-month report. Now we do have a change. I'll preface that Wayne Spencer is now the team lead of the engineers. He'll be 81.5 now, and Tom is actually now the program manager across all the capital work. So all capital work is now since under Tom. All the BAU or the engineers have also done Wayne. Just as a preface. So as I said, this is the 3-month report over the 22 rating districts. So we had quite a lot of work over the last few months. We've gone into Greymouth, Cold Creek, Romakawa, Warangi, Wine Creek, Woman, and Stoke. So they're all having maintenance works going on there. And so I've taken thread, but Wayne, do you want to give us an overview of what happened on each one of those schemes, please?
Each of the maintenance meetings that we've had, numbers were reasonably low. That wasn't unexpected because there aren't communicative issues at those schemes at the moment. But the mood seemed to be quite comfortable. And we started to, raise in the conversation, the importance of, embedding the asset management system into how we do our work. And moving towards, proactive, work maintenance program to actually start doing work before it's required, rather than just being reactive.
Thanks, Wayne. Is there any questions coming out of this report?
Just on
Councillor
page
Cole?
6, just, are those 3 photos or 2 photos over? We're trying to get around the photos there. Is that a 3rd photo down the bottom of the end product, is it?
That's a very clever split, yes, of a program split.
It is. Is that the end result?
Yes.
Is that 3rd photo? Yeah, okay. Because when I first saw it, I thought, is that the left hand side and the right hand side, and there's a stop back on the side, but then, there is a little gap in between, isn't there?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there any other questions, Councillor Ewan?
Just a question on the Greymouth Rating District, page 63. Down at Franz, you had a number of rating districts that were amalgamated, the south side, Milton and others, and the north and the south. Well, several years ago now, we've had the inclusion of Cold Creek Rating District in the Greymouth Rating District. One of the same, Cold Creek shouldn't be a separate item. It is part of the Greymouth Rating District since, 6 years ago. It's not separate no more.
Okay.
Just for going forward.
Councillor Campbell?
Just the Vine Creek and the Crocodile Rating District meeting, they were really concerned about the insurance. They feel like they want to have insurance on their schemes.
So, in relation to Vine Creek, just talking about a fund on Vine Creek, is that correct?
Yeah, through the chair, there has been across rating districts questions around insurance issues. Post the meeting at Kawhirangi and Vine Creek with Andy, Councillor Andy here, we came back to our management team. It appears as though the insurance matter was being addressed by the council. Unfortunately, the election cycle got in the way, and so we've talked to management, and we are now pulling that whole insurance question together, the papers on it, the previous papers on it, and we'll be addressing that insurance issue as a priority going forward.
Do you think, Councillor Smith, that we need to make that an action point? Yeah, so if we can make that an action point for flood protection assets for Kawhirangi, Vine Creek.
Just rating districts.
Right, and I was going to say in general. Because I believe that insurance premiums, after numerous number of disasters we've had throughout New Zealand in the last 8 years, 10 years, that premiums are going to be skyrocketing. So if the asset could be self-insured, good way to go. So yeah, I think if we could add an action list.
So,
Action point, sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I wonder if Chantel or Meryl might be able to assist here, whether we've actually now programmed that workshop in the diaries at all for insurance.
The workshop is being organised. We just need to find a slot in the diaries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's in here. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. My comments on this report, I loved it because I think pictures tell a million words. And you see before and afters, it's pretty easy to see what's been done. That's a good report. So in that case, can I please have a mover for that report? Sorry.
Because Wayne's doing the main works, there is the avulsion. Did you want to give Tom to talk to that?
Years.
69, if we need
Yeah, so we need to,
Anyway,
Morning, councillors, happy new year.
morning, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a brief update on the progress of the Waiho's avulsion into the Tartary stream. Like most councillors are aware, we run a monitoring and modelling program for the Waiho, which involves monitoring the development of the avulsion on a monthly basis through satellite imagery, and that picks up its lateral movement. Periodically, we'll pick up updated LiDAR survey using our own staff and own equipment for discrete parts of the riverbed. And then on an annual basis, we'll do a full capture of the riverbed from State Highway 6 down. And that flows into an annual geomorphic change development analysis report and informs any further modelling we need to do for the river. So this report is based on satellite imagery acquired since our last report in October last year. And what it's revealed is lateral movement of up to 65 metres to the east, so on the true right bank. And the focal point of that erosion is now upriver. So it's moved from the downriver end from our October report to the upriver end. That appears to be over a period largely associated with the not very frequent rainfall events that we've had over that period, but in particular the November event. And we expect that lateral erosion to continue to the east towards Havel's Wall and the wastewater treatment plant. And what it does is it moves laterally and then it incisors down. Okay, so you'll see a lateral movement and then it doesn't move much further until it's incised down, and then it'll move laterally again. So that full annual LiDAR capture for the whole river, that's the way at present into the work that the AF8 program do on an annual basis for the University of Canterbury. And so that gives us a cheaper run on that capture, and then we'll provide that data to Land River Sea to do their annual geomorphic change detection. So that report will be provided to the Joint Committee and is also being formally released to Westland District Council to keep them abreast of developments down there. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Is there any questions from Tom on the Waiho avulsion?
How much gravel are they expecting to come down from the gorge?
Oh,
Do they know?
that's the $1 million question or more, actually. Councillor Campbell, and I can't answer that off the top of my head, I'm sorry. Can undertake to come back to you with it.
It's like if it does carry quite a bit, that could help fill their avulsion in too, you know.
Yeah, so over the medium to longer term, that's what is expected to happen. Hard to put a time frame on that, but it could be anywhere between 10 to 20 years for that to occur, and then the riverbed will sort of start to reach equilibrium again and fluct backwards and forwards. And what this does lead into to a point is the next item on the agenda, which is an update from the natural hazards team on how this is all affecting Lake Pratt. Okay.
Any further questions from Tom? Can I please have a move?
Mr. Chairman, I wonder if I can make a comment. Look, I think I've got to express significant concern about the progression of the avulsion, and 65 metres of further lateral erosion in 3 months is very significant. It's probably exceeding what we were predicting, and it's got to be recognised and stated here that there is significant risk and issues associated with its lateral erosion, including as we've discussed at this table before, a threat to the district council oxidation ponds that serve as Franz Joseph. And without those ponds, the town effectively from a sewage scheme is compromised. We have a real risk now with the rate of this back cutting and erosion in very, very moderate rainfall times over the last 3 months. That was not a big event in November. The threat of a more significant event, flood event, could mean that the rest of that avulsion that cuts all the way up in a single event if we have a reasonable flood event that comes down that catchment. So I just want to really, for the record, state that really concerned about the risk to the oxidation ponds now. And I think it's a risk to the town, to the tourism of the West Coast and the economy of the West Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to put the other side of it. Darryl, I totally disagree with you. I don't consider there's a major risk to the ponds at the moment. I think the risk is being exaggerated. So I'd like to go on record to say that. Thank you.
That's Richard.
Yes, through the chair, I would just like to go on the record supporting the position of our CEO. It is clear to me that this is an issue that, as chair, I have been working very closely with our CEO on, and the more that I become involved in this issue and trying to find resolutions for this issue, the more concerned I become for the Franz Joseph community and the industry that relies on it, but not only the Franz Joseph community, but also the Hokitika community and the wider West Coast. Because if there is a breach of the sewage ponds, then that will effectively close down tourism in Franz Joseph, which will have a significant effect on Hokitika. And not only that, it will have a significant effect on brand West Coast in terms of tourism going forward. So it is a major issue.
Yes, Cole.
The survey coming out of these is that we're expressing opinions now, and I think opinions should be backed up with measurements, and I think we should be looking at monitoring this situation. Like 3 months is quite a long time between 65 metres that happen in one burst, that happen in over a progressive sort of a time span, and is it accelerating or is it starting to taper off? And the only way we can be confident of that is by doing measurements rather than just sort of thinking, well, that's the way it's going. We're going to be the ponds are going to be gone, or as Alan says, no, the ponds aren't going to be gone. I think we need to be tasked. Chair to the CEO. I think this needs to be somebody needs to be tasked with doing regular monitoring, and I'm talking sort of no more than fortnightly, like at least fortnightly, to see what that movement is, and if it's accelerating, is it steady, is it slowing down? And at the moment, we're sort of thinking, God, it's moved a lot, and we haven't had any storms, or is it storms that are doing it, or is it just a natural every day the river goes down, takes a wee bit more from just normal flows. So my two bolts with is that would say we need to monitor it, and probably on a fortnightly basis. It's that serious that the cost of doing that would be infinitesimal in relation to the consequences.
Thank you, Councillor Cole. You got a response to that, Tom?
More than happy to. I mean, we are able to access that satellite imagery to pick up the lateral movement on a monthly basis. From
my worry, my worry of relying on that satellites, it relies on good weather, and the satellites sometimes you can get a patch. From now, I know through to winter, we can expect days of you might get a week of satellites not being in opportune places and having cloudy sort of conditions, then I think relying on that is too risky.
Okay, so, councillor Cole, point taken. Quite happy to pull you into a discussion with Land River Sea, if you like, about managing this for us, and see what we can most pragmatically and practically do on a more regular basis than what we are at the moment. And what it's cost.
Going beyond governance versus operations. So if I do everything properly, quite happy to be involved.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with Chris, because I've talked to one fellow that's worked on that Trans River for about 40 years, and he's saying, well, that's just a bloody joke thinking the ponds are going to go. He said it'll never happen. And another local fellow that lived there for 70 years, they're saying all that gravel's got to come down from up the top, that'll pull her up. It won't take them. So that's other opinions. Who do you believe?
We've got
Councillor
opinions as well.
Councillor Smith, no, okay, Councillor Ewan.
Yeah, I agree with Chris's comments. I make the observation here, and it must be done by Land River and Sea, I presume. They've determined 95% of the volume going down there now. So that must be one survey someone's done. It's not a chocolate wheel figure spun up. It's 95%. That's the risk. And it's going to creep up very quickly if we have a big event. It'll be too late to do any surveys and LiDAR then. I think we've got to do a bit more regular. And for those that say ponds won't be washed away, well, why we're in this situation in the first place? 2019, they were washed away. Overwhelmed.
Through the chair, Daryl, can you bring the council table up to date in terms of what our expert people who are advising the council are actually saying? Because we must rely on the expert advice that we are receiving as councillors.
So, Mr. Chairman, it's our consulting engineer, Gardner, but also Emeritus Professor Dr. Tim Davey, who's been part of the technical advisory group on the river, and many other engineers are of the view that this avulsion will continue to develop and will eventually, given different flood events and things like that, intersect and undermine and get to the point where it's going to threaten the ponds. So that is the view of technical experts, and that's actually in the Waiho River Strategy, which was authored by the Technical Advisory Group, and is the subject of many scientific papers from Canterbury University, where they've done the different modelling to show that is a real risk. So all I can do, councillors, is tell you what very, very experienced engineers are telling me.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, and if that's the case, I don't see why extending the Havel wall another 200 metres for 2 years. What's the point of it? Why aren't we looking at shifting or getting the council to look at shifting their ponds? Because I mean, that's the only thing we're trying to say. There's no houses or lives down there. Prepare to shift the ponds and let it go. That's the option.
Can I ask again our CEO to address that question?
The chair and I have been having 3 very, very recent conversations with Westland District Council on this matter, raising the issues and the risks associated with the avulsion to their ponds, and we're looking to have another meeting with them tomorrow on this.
I think it's the answer we're looking for.
So it's ongoing. So any other questions on this matter? Yep.
Yes, just to reiterate what our CEO has said, we are, and councillor Andy, we are working very actively with Western District Council in trying to find a way to enable the time that's needed to plan and recite the ponds, but that's not an overnight outcome. So in the interim, we need to ensure by the most appropriate means to continue to protect those ponds while that planning is undertaken. But it is a good point you raise, that planning is incredibly important.
Thank you. Anything from you, Ashley?
Not on this at this stage, but I appreciate the update. And obviously, we're noting we've got the joint rating committee meeting coming up on the 18th of this month.
Good, thank you. No more discussion on that? No, please have a mover for the.
What's the action? I just want to reiterate.
Well,
what's the action? Because you're going to put on the action list.
Ongoing, which is basically discussions between council, Western District Council, ponds, ocean,
There's a regularity
And the monitoring.
and the monitoring.
of Chris.
So that's between Tom and Councillor Cole.
All right.
Which they're going to catch up after. All right. Very good. So can I have a mover for that report, please? Councillor Campbell, seconder. Councillor Cole, all in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Rightio. 9.3. Lake Crap, large.
Which page is that?
9.3, page 76, Alan.
56.
Yeah. Morning, Janty.
Morning.
Get you to talk to this report. Lake Crap.
Thanks. I actually have Chris Cameron here, our Principal Natural Hazards Analyst online, who's going to speak to the report.
Thanks, Shanti. Yep, morena tato, councillors, chair. Look, I think this follows on quite nicely from the previous report regarding the avulsion and the changes that we're seeing in Lake Pratt, which are discussed in this report, are a natural consequence of that avulsion occurring and altering that flow through the Tatari Gorge. So just a couple of points to make regarding this report. There's a substantively identical report going to the Franz Joseph Joint Committee meeting on the 18th. The only change to that report is the inclusion of a list of FAQs from a comms perspective, which are also forming part of the comms plan that we're pulling together around this. So, yep, the report is as read, and happy to take any questions.
On page 80, you've got interventions, high volume material. On line 2, it's 3 m to the 4th.
Yeah.
What's that?
3 metres high.
3 metres 4.
Sorry.
So
sorry.
that's on the report, page 80.
Line 2 under interventions.
Oh, that's just
trying to get my head around.
the footnote. Is that what you?
It said 3 m squared. No,
3 m to the 4th.
3 or 4, is it?
The 4 is relating to the footnote there around the reference to that.
Oh, 4. Okay, got it. Oh, yeah, thank you.
Okay, right.
Yeah, no,
Yep.
that's, yep.
Apologise. Yeah. Sorry.
Through the chair, if I can. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, there seems to be a little bit of a delay between me speaking and getting a reaction. Chris, thanks very much for the report. Some really valuable information in this, and obviously the comms and engagement plan, the FAQs you speak of, are going to be really valuable for those in the community that are seeing that lake rise. As noted in the report, there's a lot of concern down there about this, and this report goes a long way to speaking to the technical side of it. Councillor Cole mentioned opinions on the previous report, and I think we need to be really careful with dealing with science and facts versus opinions in spaces like this. So it's really nice to have this level of information there for people to have, and obviously having a comms plan to get it out to that community.
Thank you.
Councillor Ewan.
Just on page 81, in relation to the Waiho Protection Works, has there been a master plan shown to anyone at this council? It's not our prerogative to do it. It's going to be done by Western. So we've seen page 1 of that master plan. It's been 2 years now.
No, Mr. Chairman.
2 years. Good.
Any more discussion on Lake Creek? No. Okay. Saying that, can I have a mover for that paper, please?
Thank you. Apology for that. 3 and 4.
All in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Righto. So we go on to project status report 10 and 10.1. Franz Joseph Stage 1 Operations Project Status Report.
Thank you. So that we were talking to all the capital work. I'm up here to go through that. So we'll be going through Franz Stage 1 and 2, the poetry tickers, stop vacancy walls, and grays 1, 2, 1 and 3. So what we've got here is the report up at the end of January. Tom, would you like? Tom, would you like to?
Just before you start, are we also going to have Scott Hoare coming in on this as well? Was he?
That was the intention, Mr. Chair, but I haven't been able to raise him to get him to jump into the meeting. So
Okay. No, I just asked him because he's down to report to the report. He's not on board. Okay. Thank you. Carry on.
okay, so he wasn't here because I wasn't quite prepared for this one.
Have to deal with AI.
Yeah, but as far as Franz Stage 1 is concerned, as council, where substantive certificate has been issued for the stop bank upgrades themselves. The only remaining item is the installation of the culvert through the link bank, and we've received a price from the contractor. We've accepted that price, and that work is scheduled to happen in conjunction with to the Milton and Others Bank as part of Franz Stage 2, and that work will be starting in the next week or two.
Any questions on Stage 1, friends? Update. Recommendation that the committee resolved to receive the report. Can I have a mover for that, please?
Happy to.
Alan?
See how we get on.
And Ashley second. There's quite a bit of feedback coming through your computer too, Ashley, still. All in favour? Aye. Stage 2, Franz Joseph, Operation Committee Project Status Report. So head on.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So key points here are reminding councillors that the NZTA stop banks have been withdrawn from scope, and that work will be carried out by NZTA in the next few months. Rubbish dump banks, that work is complete, and we have issued final completion certificates for it. Milton and Others Bank, the proposed strengthening work of the Rata Mole section, that's been tendered and awarded to MBD Limited. And that work, as I said just before, is intended to start on the ground next week, in part and more substantially the week following the joint committee meeting. And the reason for that being is that some of the ratepayer representatives on the South Bank requested a raise of that Dartmouth section to lift it to the same crest level as the lower part of the bank. We've investigated that, not the concept, and a cost estimate, presented it to them. The estimated cost of that work is in the region of $150,000, $160,000, and the request was for us to take that back to the joint committee for endorsement and then this committee for approval.
Yep. No, understand that.
So that's what's the hold up in establishing MBD on site has been.
Yep.
That one, not wanting to start and then having to rework stuff to
No, that makes sense.
raise.
Yep, I appreciate it. Thanks, Tom. Any questions on stage 2? I have a move for this report. Oh, good, it's a question.
Just a minute. Let's get the page of joy. On page 106. I notice 11.2, Pebbles Wall extension. I notice the project's been cancelled and been removed from the scope. A lot of red there, and so it's out of the picture. February last month, 2 years on from the emergency work, I've got a little wall in front of the surge ponds. Actually, emergency consent being sought by Westland to cover that work, because that's the only thing remaining going by this. They need a consent for the emergency work. They sought one of us for the Hokitika seawall.
Mr. Chair, I can speak to that if you like.
Yep.
So Councillor Ewan, the Western District Council applied for retrospective consent for that work quite some time ago. Our expert advisors, i.e. Chief Engineer Peter Blackwood, identified some adverse effects caused by the alignment that they had installed that bund to, and requested and has been working with district owners to resolve that. And the proposal to resolve that issue is to extend that bund by another 100 metres on a slightly different alignment, okay, that would ameliorate those adverse effects. What's happened is it's gotten bound up in the discussion between whether the Havels Wall itself is extended or whether the bund is extended. Clearly, if we extend Havels Wall, it means the extension to the bund is no longer required. Okay, so that's where we're at with that one.
Yes, so yeah.
The said wall was put in as emergency work 20 days to get the consent. We are 2 years on. I'll leave it there.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. I just want to make the overarching obvious observation that and it's, you know, with community agreement, we've made a substantial increase in the assets down at Franz Joseph. We've substantially increased and strengthened the banks both on the north and south side. That is a commensurate significant increase in asset value. And one of the key, and foreshadowing one of the key discussions at the Franz Joseph Joint Committee will be the commensurate increase that, based on our calculations and our asset management plans of what their prudent reserve should be, would increase with the increased asset value and an increased asset build down there, but also foreshadowing that with all this new asset upgrade and increased assets, you know, we will be expecting an increase in the maintenance expenditure over the coming years as, you know, you got more to maintain. And all of that, you know, operationally will have to be worked through with that joint committee on both the prudent reserve and the maintenance fund on an annual basis. And that will be discussed at the joint committee on the 18th. Thanks.
Thank you, Darryl. Any more discussion on stage 2? Okay, can I have a move for that report, please? Councillor Campbell, seconder. Councillor Birchfield, all in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
10.3, Hokitika River Wall Operations Committee Project Status Report. Ian Tom, I'll get you to talk to this, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So for this one, key points are over to stage 3, so continuing progress there, and then of course the temporary seawall.
Yep.
Hokitika as well. So with Hokitika stage 3, our attention has been focused on getting ourselves off the mark with some work completed this construction season to meet the our intention had been to repair the riprap on the lower 300 metre reach of the stock bank, and that was also going to involve removing the vegetation, the existing vegetation from that riprap as well. The riprap repair has been a little bit more complicated than we had anticipated it to be, and while we had hoped that we were going to be able to deliver that piece of work as a permitted activity, we can't do that, so we'll just put that on hold. The design for it has been completed and peer reviewed, but we'll put that piece of work on hold for the next construction season. But we will progress with the vegetation removal on that lower 300 metre reach, and that will satisfy Kānoa. In the meantime, the geotechnical work or assessment, particularly seepage modelling, has been commenced for the upper 500 metre reach, and we're not that far away from having a project team workshop to pick up that concept that councillors have been presented with previously, look at what that geotechnical work is telling us, and then making some decisions on where to from here in terms of preliminary and detailed design. For Hokitika temporary seawall, you'll be pleased to know we got the retrospective consent application lodged Thursday this week on time, and that application is now sitting with both WDC and with West Coast Regional Council and is being assessed as we speak. So we're yet to hear any feedback from either consenting authority.
Thanks, Tom. So just the vegetation control is at the spraying, is it?
It'll need to be cut.
And sprayed.
Yeah.
Any questions on the Hokitika report? Councillor Campbell.
Temporary wall, did we only go to December 2028 or long?
We've put a 5-year term on it and removed the reference to removing the seawall at the end of that term. And so what that will do is allow both councils, in whatever form they come, to initiate conversation with ratepayers through the next round of long-term planning about how they want to approach coastal head management.
Yeah.
Hokitika.
Sense. No, thanks, Tom. Any more discussion on that point? I have a mover for the Hokitika petition.
Yeah, me too.
Councillor Birchfield move. Councillor Cashin. All in favour? Aye. .4 Operations, Greymouth Operations Committee Project Status Report. Received the report, it's been read. Tom, I'll get you to explain that to us, please.
Councillors, 2 key points here. Our stages 1 and 3, so that's the IRG funded project. And you might remember the only outstanding item of work there is completion of stock bank adjacent to the Gresson Street wharf. This is where we've had Western Mineral Sands come in and propose a realignment of that stock bank to allow them more working room on the river side of the stock bank.
Just got one question there for you, Tom. Is there any extra cost to the council or ratepayer for that? Good, thank you.
So where we've gotten to with that is in October, we presented the work that we agreed needed to be done with Western Mineral Sands and paid for by Western Mineral Sands to them. So it's the geotechnical investigations and the contaminated land investigations, and an updated estimate cost to Western Mineral Sands to implement that realignment. There was a significant delay in them coming back to us with a position. They finally did our prompting in January, and their position is that they're not in a financial position to be able to undertake that work or fund that piece of work until at least the end of this this calendar year, sorry. Okay, so there's a decision there for councillors on whether you're happy to take a continued risk associated with that section of Stop Bank being at the design crest level, but not strengthened with the riprap on the riverside until such point as Mineral Sands are in position to realign that or contribute to the realignment of that Stop Bank.
I see your hand up, Councillor Ewan. From my perspective, I don't want to see any risk for the council on that. That's my perspective. Councillor Ewan.
Yeah, this came back to us a year ago this month, I think. They wanted some weeks, a couple of months to do this. And I was concerned at the time because of the risk, and the some weeks has now been 12 months, and they've got no wherewithal to pay for it till late this year, so that's going to be 18 months. That's going to do the work we've done with getting the net slack. I don't think if they haven't got the money in the kitty now to do these sort of things, it's relatively minor. Doesn't bode well for their future prospects when they've got many things to pay for. I'm not prepared to take the risk for the ratepayers I represent. After what we've taken a risk for the last 12 months, it was only meant to be a few weeks.
Councillor Campbell.
I see the government had just allocated like 80 million for that sort of work for these people, so for rare minerals and stuff like that, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
for facilities. But anyway, I was just wondering, would it be worth approaching them again and seeing if they applied for it?
So if I'll give the CE an opportunity to speak to this one. Yes, but if what I am hearing is correct, the action is for us to go back to Western Mineral Sands and explain that council is not prepared to carry that risk.
Well, so too.
From my perspective, is we don't want to be at risk, but I don't want to do a job twice either.
Yes.
What would be the cost, estimated cost in doing the job? And then if they come along in 12 months' time or 18 months' time and it suits them, is there a massive extra cost? But it lowers our risk in the interim, but the cost is on them, if that makes sense.
So the intention is that the material that's used in the existing Stop Bank is shifted from one location to the other.
So it's not a massive cost, is it?
And then if we install the riprap now, which is the outstanding item, then that would have to be relocated as well. So
but the product's on site.
Yeah, so the budget for relocating the Stop Bank is agreed with some Mineral Sands.
Yep.
So the additional cost is the relocation of the riprap.
But they haven't got the money.
Yep. Councillor.
Through the chair,
I'd
like to hear from our CEO.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Mr. Chairman. With continued no update from Western Mineral Sands, I took upon myself in January to get hold of one of the directors of Western Mineral Sands to raise this issue and effectively get some conclusion on this matter. I was then very helpfully directed with some prompting from that director to, I think, the acting CEO or operations officer or something like that of one of the staff of Western Mineral Sands So I undertook the conversation with the director and one of the staff. It's very apparent to me that they don't have the money for this at this time, and there is no guarantee that that money will be there in 12 months either, given the what they call the startup phase that we're in with their new site. It would be my advice to this council to no longer accept the risk on behalf of the Greymouth community for this this portion of work that's not yet done, and to simply allow me to inform Western Mineral Sands that we're now proceeding to rock the face of the existing alignment of the flood bank, and if they do want to move it in the future, that will be at their own cost.
I agree with that. Can I just say a word first? In summary, it's to give the operations the go ahead. We want to vote from councillors.
Please.
Yep. So all in favour, say aye.
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 So that's unanimous. That's you, Ashley, aye?
Correct.
Yep, so that's unanimous. So you've got a pretty clear indication there, Tom, what to do. Sorry,
Through the chair, just to support the view expressed by our CEO that in the interests of the Greymouth community, I don't think we, as a council, we should be accepting any continued risk.
I think it'd be irresponsible of us. Yeah. Okay, I appreciate that. Thanks, Tom. So you got a pretty clear indication what to go there. Okay, thank you for the.
Can I just record an action here that there will be a letter sent from me to the company informing of this decision,
and that will be dated within the month. That needs to close off in the same month. We're not giving them a month or month. It's a month with an infinite date. Thank you.
There's an action so that we can close it off.
Okay, with that, can I please have a mover for that report, please? Councillor Smith, Councillor Campbell, all in favour? Oh, welcome, Scott Hall. You come at the end. Okay, Westport Flood Protection Scheme Project Report 10.5. Tom, can I please get you to talk to this report?
Apologies, before I do, just further to the previous report. Stages 2, 4 and 5.
Yes.
That's the second key point. We've ourselves organised now, we've appointed MPD as the contractor to complete that project on the ground. We've got Davis Ogilvy back on board from a construction monitoring and further design point of view, and we expect them to establish on site over the next month or so.
So that's not changed from before, is it?
Changed.
Thank you. Okay then, 10.5.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The highlights of the point period for the Westport Flood Protection Scheme project, starting with Cats Creek Bund. The final 10 metres of that part of the scheme was constructed and is now complete.
You're happy with it?
I'm very happy personally. Thank you very much. Consent has been granted and contract awarded for the placement of rock at O'Connor Home. The consent application for Upper Buller and Carvers has been finalised and lodged. And a variation to the.
Let's ask you a question on that one. Well, it's been lodged. What's the turnaround time, do you think, on that? Is many fish hooks in that one?
It's a little hard for me to comment on right here and now.
Yep.
Chair, apologies.
No problem.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to put you wrong.
No, cool, thank you.
On the 10th of February, a variation to the funding agreement with DIA was granted, bringing the National Infrastructure and Financing Company into play. So they will act on behalf of DIA, monitoring our progress with delivering the project, and the balance of the Crown funding made available for the project has been transferred from DIA enough as well. So that's 12.2 million. Now, in the meantime, geotechnical investigation, reporting, optioneering, feasibility, preliminary design, and consenting activities continue across most of the scheme. But probably the dominant activity over the last period has been the project review and value engineering exercise that's dropped out of that project review. So this is a natural point in any large scale and complex project where, as you conclude your investigation and early design activities, and you compare those outcomes with the assumptions that were made at the time of putting the budget bid together, and you've learned new information, you look at what your approved project budget is, what your approved scope is, and compare it with where it's heading and look for opportunities to come down on. So we're working through that exercise now with our design team. And we've added an additional resource to support the existing team, first and foremost in the form of a senior project manager. Some support on the procurement side of things, and what was the other role? QS, thank you. Yeah.
And just support that, Councillor Cole and myself are going to have a 3-week or monthly update with the project manager of the whole scheme to keep on his case and keep on everyone's case to keep that project taken over. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I wonder if I could make a quick comment there and say that, look, I want to thank councillors in the Westport community for their ongoing patience as we work through all the issues associated with the scheme. I realise and acknowledge that the community and councillors of the scheme built yesterday, or certainly more progress than perhaps what you've seen today. It is complex. There's a lot of design. There's a lot of costing going on. And one fact that I'll give you is it's my understanding now that the 17 kilometres of flood bank actually intersect 110 properties. And all of those property owners need to be spoken with and worked through in terms of land entry agreements and consents and those other sorts of things. And they all have, some of them have particular views around alignments and where it should go on their properties, etc. So look, it is a very significant task. I do want to contrast this to the other capital works that we're doing at Franz, Hokitika and Greymouth, which are consented established schemes where we're effectively just topping up. The chair and I last Friday heard an update from Hawke's Bay Regional Council about the other brand new flood scheme that's going on in the country, and there are only 2 brand new flood schemes from scratch, which is Wairoa in northern Hawke's Bay and Westport. And just to hear Hawke's Bay Regional Council chair talking about the challenges that they're having with land matters and consenting, but also design and investigations, and then costing, and then trying to work the costings to the budget. Very, very similar story to what they're going through at the moment. And that scheme is probably worth 70 million as a scheme cost. So I just want to really acknowledge and thank you for your ongoing patience, and we're hoping to come out with some updates very soon as a result of the reset or the reanalysis that we're doing of the scheme as we've moved out of the original concept design into prelim and in some cases final design, which is a natural way of working your costings and scope in an engineering project. Thanks.
Thank you, Darryl.
Just a question, Dom, and it may well be too early to provide an answer on this, but are you seeing a positive improvement in the project with the new project now bringing all the threads of it together and coordinating?
It's a little early on that one, Councillor Smith. New senior project manager's been involved for about 2 weeks, but I've been thoroughly impressed by the speed at which he's gotten to grips with the issues and how we can improve things in terms of process and role clarity and
communication and, areas that have needed a bit more attention along, particularly in the land access side. So while increasing resource there outward might not be what you want to hear, I think it's a positive thing.
Simply some people over it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on this report? Councillor Cole?
Just on page 142, the neighbour's form on item 7/20/26. Will we have to recall tenders for that, redesign? I can't see that at the moment, Councillor Cole, I'm afraid. It will depend on the extent of the changes made and how negotiations with the incumbent go.
That just be a variation?
That's one option, yes.
Just a delay factor. Just because of the delay factor.
If there are, under the form of contract that we're using, if there are, which is NZS 3910, so it's a standard for construction and building and civil engineering works. And it's a measure and value type of contract, where we share a lot of risk between the contractor and the client. If the quantities of work vary substantively enough between what was originally contracted and what the final quantity might be, then the contractor is entitled to a variation. So that's when you start working with the contractor. If we want to remove this, then what does that mean in terms of the final contract price?
Yep. Pretty standard contractors. Yep. Any other questions? Councillor?
Oh, just a comment. There's a huge lot of dissatisfaction in Westport over the time and the costs that this project has taken.
Lovely.
And you would be well aware of that.
Lovely. Thank you for your comment. Any other discussion on this matter? Can I have a mover for this report, please? Councillor Cole, seconder, Councillor Smith, all in favour?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Aye.
Thanks, Ashley. You are delayed. I'll call the meeting to a close at exactly 11 o'clock. I'd like to move into public excluded. Can I please have a move here, the meeting closed?
Okay, welcome everybody, councillors, team members, and those on video, including Councillor Cashin. And also the opening affirmation for this meeting: seek knowledge for understanding, have purpose in all that you do, stand tall, be strong, let us show respect for each other. Do we have any apologies?
No.
Okay, declarations of interest. Public forum petitions, deputations. Late items. Okay, we move on to 6, confirmation of minutes. Now we have 2 sets of minutes. We have the council meeting minutes of the 3rd of February 2025 and the extraordinary council meeting minutes of the 17th of February 2026. The recommendation: it is recommended that council resolves to confirm that the minutes of the council meeting held on the 3rd of February 2026 are a true and correct record. 2, confirm that the minutes of the extraordinary council meeting held on the 17th of February 2026 are a true and correct record. Do I have a mover for those minutes?
Move that, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor McIntyre. Seconder. Thank you, Councillor Ewan. All in favour? Aye. Against? Motion carried. Action list. There are no public action items for this meeting. Chair's report. Since our last meeting, I've continued to attend Reading District meetings with our engineering team, which has proved very helpful for myself as a new councillor and chair to get a better understanding of the nature and importance of the river protection works and assets. It has also been very helpful getting to meet our stakeholder community directly affected by the river issues that are mitigated by our river protection assets. At one meeting, a very concerned local said, "Who the hell is going to look after our stock banks once you guys get the heave-ho?" I reassured him that the services provided by regional councils will continue regardless of local government reform. So not to worry, their river protection assets would continue to be looked after. Also, while in the council office over the intervening period, I've continued to have the opportunity to engage with our management team to better understand their roles and functions in the work of our council, and have been impressed with the calibre, capability and focus of our management team. We as a council and the communities that rely on the services we provide are very well served by a group of talented and passionate people who work diligently to achieve the best outcomes for our region. And I have no doubt that talent, passion and diligence permeates throughout the organisation at all levels. Finally, I have recently attended a local government forum in Wellington, during which it became clear to me that within regional councils nationwide, we have a group of people who have a wealth of knowledge, experience and expertise. And one of them sits right here beside me in terms of our CEO, and a very real passion for what they do, who are working collaboratively to ensure that the work of regional councils like ours remains at the forefront of any local government reform process. It's recommended that council resolves to receive the chair's report. Do I have a mover? Thanks, Mark. Seconder, thanks, Andy. All in favour?
Aye.
Again? Motion carried. 9.1, dangerous dams policy. Matt.
Okay, this item is just a formal adoption of the dangerous dams policy to bring alignment with the building safety regulations that came into effect in 2024. Just as an overview, the policy covers all classifiable dams in the region. So that's anything more than 4 metres in height and more than 20,000 cubic metres, or as identified as dangerous, earthquake prone or flood prone. The key principle in the policy is that dam owners are responsible for identifying, monitoring and managing risks, and council's role is to oversee this report and intervene when necessary. So we'll maintain a register of dams near risk status and intervene if required. Prior dispatching dangerous dams, especially high impact, identified as high impact dams, earthquake flood prone dams and medium impact earthquake flood prone dams. And so this public safety takes precedence followed by property and environmental protection. It also covers off heritage dams and how they work out with. So this policy was adopted by EMC, and so this is just formal sign off. There've been a few minor corrections to the text. So it's seeking to that you receive the report and adopt the policy.
Any questions, councillors? Oh,
Have we got a list of
yeah. We have a register of dams, and we have a classifiable, but all the dams are classifiable, so we're going through to all their classifications against this. Right. But that's a work in progress.
thank you. Any other questions, councillors?
Through the chair, Matt, when you talk about historic dams, some of that stuff fall under the Crown, like when you're talking like historic gold mines and stuff like that. And coal mines and stuff like that. Is that, where does that end up falling?
It could do. I mean, it's heritage dams is always a tricky thing. So if they're heritage status, then it becomes a bit of a complication in terms of where it sits and what can be done about those. But yes, it will be, some of those will be underground.
Now you can just sort of see that acid mine drainage type scenario come up again.
Gallows Dam, through the chair.
No, can I just be clear? It is my understanding that, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, for a dam to be classified, to be considered a heritage dam, it's got to be in the Heritage New Zealand classification register as a heritage dam. Yeah. So that might not be all those old dams associated with the gold mine. May not be.
So what are they?
A dam.
Yes, that you got
that. I just think of, like Gallows Dam, for example,
That's what I was referring to.
that sits above a, one of the places we're promoting as a safe place to evacuate or relocate town to, out by Elmer Road and below Gallows Dam. So find that interesting, and I just wondered if say a heritage dam like that might have been on the register, or and there's
even if they're on the register. I mean, the risks are the primary focus. So even if there's a heritage dam, there'll be discussions around being mitigated and what action plan.
Through the chair. Just make that. Would Wholesome Lake be classified as a dam?
interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
I have to look into that.
Would you do that, please?
Yes, certainly.
Thank you.
Through the chair, it's only if they're sticking above the ground.
It's hard to hold water below, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, it becomes a lake if it's a hole, doesn't it?
Through the chair, one more. It's half the reason why on Stockton, for example, they build sumps rather than dams, because a sump presumably isn't a dam. But do you have? I tried to find what the definition of a dam was in here, and a sump could almost
Classifiable dam that has to be more than 4 meters high, so it's above ground level.
Yeah.
The crest of the dam above surrounding land, containing more than 20,000 cubic meters. So it's not a very big volume.
It's an and.
It's an
and 4 meters high and 10,000. Interesting. Yeah.
Any other questions, councillors? Councillor Casson, do you have any questions on this matter?
Nothing for me on this one.
Exactly. All right. So the recommendation is recommended for the council resolve to receive the report and to adopt the Dangerous Dams Policy 2026. Do I have a mover? Councillor Cole, seconder. Councillor Campbell, all in favour?
Aye.
Yes.
Thanks, mate.
Motion carried. Okay, 9.2 Rift Flood Resilience Projects Tranche 2 Suspensory Loan Agreement.
Afternoon, councillors.
Afternoon, Tom.
So you might remember that in November last year, I presented a draft agreement with Carmel for co-funding for our Tranche 2 projects at Growing Up in Moga 2. That draft agreement took the form of the grant contract. 50% from central government, 50% from local share. Much the same as the contract entered into of Grand Stage 2. You resolved to accept the offer from Karnoa and delegated authority to the CE. Sign the agreement once it was finalised. While we were working through finalising the agreement, January this year, Karnoa advised that grant contract had been offered in error. They were only offering grant contracts to projects with less than $1 million and to be delivered within 12 months. So they've been offering what's known as a suspensory loan agreement to other councils proposing projects of a similar scale and nature to the ones that we've got on it late. We've been reviewing the terms and conditions associated with the suspensory loan agreement and have been benefiting from the work that other councils had been doing with diligence on that form of agreement before it was handed to us as well. And as a result, we don't see any impediment to the council entering into this formal agreement for those two projects. It does actually offer us some advantages. In the first instance, it does actually effectively act as a grant agreement. The loan is only called in if we don't deliver within the 5-year term of the agreement, and we minimise our risk of that happening by dividing the projects into sub-projects and signing them off as being complete as we progress. So that, I guess I've alluded to one other advantage in that it is, the term of the agreement is longer than for a grant agreement as well. And achieving the time frame for achieving the conditions precedent is longer at 6 months than it is for a grant agreement at 2 months. So recommendation to councillors is that they make this and approve the recommendation to delegate authority to the CE for both signing the agreement and
Any questions, councillors? Okay, all right. So the draft suspensory loan agreement between MBIE and West Coast Regional Council recommendation is recommended that council resolve to receive the report. 1, 2, note the draft suspensory loan agreement between Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, Kanoa, and West Coast Regional Council appended as attachment 1. Note the conditions precedent and that West Coast Regional Council has 6 months from the date of signing the contract to comply with the conditions precedent. 4, approve the recommendation to delegate authority to the Chief Executive to sign the contract once the agreement has been finalised. 5, approve the recommendation to delegate authority to the Chief Executive to authorise claims to Kanoa, the central government share of expenditure as the projects progress. Do I have a mover?
Move that, Chair.
Thank
Have
you,
a second.
Councillor McIntyre. Thank you, Councillor Cashin. All in favour? Against? Motion carried. Thanks, Tom.
Could I just ask a question? I was a bit slow there. You're quite happy with this, Tom? It's just really put some conditions on that money has to be uplifted and spent for a certain time.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, isn't it? Just puts a timetable on uplifting.
A longer timetable than was the case for grant contracts.
Yeah. So it's really,
there's just one additional hook, and that is if which kind of existed in the grant contracts anyway, is that if we don't deliver within that 5-year term, then it turns into a loan agreement and for repayments.
yeah. And you're happy with it?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Tom. 9.3 Biosecurity Regional Collaborations Update, Chanti.
Thank you. Also, I'm just presenting this paper in response to a letter that we received from the Otago Regional Council Chair late last year. This was a bit of a call for more executive or strategic collaboration between regional biosecurity teams. This regional CEs have also endorsed this approach. Basically, we wanted to give you at a governance level an update of what we've been doing operationally in this collaborative space. So we have what's known as a Southern Biosecurity Alliance, which includes all South Island councils, and we get together once a month I've highlighted our main projects where we see good crossover and good collaboration. Some of the examples include a joint harmful species list. So ECAN have done climate modelling for more than 1,100 species, and we can access this data. There's also some work being done to train AI to be able to sort of geolocate on drones where these species might be, and we can access that AI generated sort of learning as well through other councils. We do pathway management. RPMP alignment is a big part of what we do as well. And I believe the other chairs and CEs want to do a lot of alignment in our regional pest management plan moving forward. There's a bit in freshwater biosecurity. Marine biosecurity is less important to us on the coast because we don't have any marine ports. It is important to note that some of the focuses of the other councils are not the same as ours because we don't have the same species and we don't have the same climate, so we just don't have the same problems. So although alignment is important and collaboration is definitely effective, there are points of difference that we need to acknowledge. Examples being wilding pines. We're never going to invest money into wilding pines on the coast because it's just not a problem yet. And wallabies as well. That's a huge focus of Canterbury and Southland, but it's not something that we actively pour any effort into other than listing it as an exclusion species.
Thank you, Shanti. Questions, councillors? Can I just ask a question, Shanti? So what species which are prevalent and a problem on the coast would we be collaborating with other regions on?
So giant knotweed is probably the one that springs to mind immediately. So that's an exclusion species in both Southland and Canterbury. And it's quite prevalent on the coast. It's actually exclusion species in most regions. It's quite surprising that it's so widespread here. So that's something that they've got a really strong interest in us not sharing to them. But more likely than not, they've got a lot of things we don't. Right. So there's a lot of benefit both ways to make sure, and that's their pathway management stuff. But that will be in our regional pest management plan discussion document, knotweed, as something that we don't currently invest in at all, but there is, inter-regional benefit of us doing some containment work there.
Shanti?
Shanti, thank you. Yeah. Shanti, is Gunnerer New Zealand wide, or was it just a coast thing?
It's in most regions. I can't tell you if it's in all regions. It's pretty widespread in Tasman. Okay. If you go up to Tasman, you'll see it along the riverbanks there.
Yeah.
It was one of those ones that we were trying to get on top of, and it's kind of probably got to the point where it's too expensive for us to control now as well.
I noticed they don't do it anymore. Yeah.
So we were doing a lot of compliance work on Gunnerer, but it's sort of got to that point where the cost of doing it outweighed the achievability of getting rid of it.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Is there actually, Shanti, or is there much cross-border collaboration with the ungulate problem?
Regional councils all have different approaches with ungulates because of the Wild Animal Control Act and the responsibilities of the Department of Conservation and the NPI.
Right.
And MFE as well. There's a little bit of work. So the work is more being done with those agencies at that level,
right,
as opposed to the regional level, but they have established a working group, and that's represented by one from Waikato and one from ECAN as well. Right. And so we meet quarterly through the biosecurity working group, and they feedback on those working groups about what's going on.
Right.
It is sort of a work in progress there.
Mm. Thanks. Any other questions, councillors? Councillor Kesson, any questions?
Not from me, but nice to hear an update and the work's happening in the space.
Thanks, councillor. Thank you, Shanti. All right, so the recommendation, it is recommended that council resolve to receive the report, note the participation and projects being delivered under the South Island Biodiversity Alliance. Do I have a mover?
Yeah,
thanks, Councillor Birchfield. Seconder. All in favour? Right. Motion carried. Thank you. Right, do we have a mover to move into public excluded?
Yeah.
Andy, so Andy's moving, seconder.
Yes.
Councillor Cole, all in favour? Okay. And okay, there being no further business, I declare the meeting closed at 1:25 PM. Thank you, councillors and team, for your attendance today. And